Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. We're here with the Beastmen today, going to be taking on the Empire in a wholesome 100% Gelt-Free replay. Yes, indeed, guaranteed no Gelt whatsoever. So let's go ahead and jump to the army compositions. We do have Morgar the Shadow Gave, just in case of Gelt gooning. He has magic resistance and regeneration, if I can find him here. He's standing in the back. So he's going to be relatively immune to the Gelt gooning. That being said, he's a little bit squishy in melee. He can get gooned by an elite tier, lord, somebody like Boris or Karl Franz or somebody like that. Definitely put him in a can real quick. That being said, he does have the 2 Chaos Spawn summons, which is going to be a lot of fun. We've got the 2 Minotaurs, as you saw in the opening shot here. Backing up 4 units of Gore Herds with shields. We've also got 4 Ungor Spearman Herd, one of the more cost-effective low-tier spear units in the game. We've got 4 Centaurs with throwing axes spread all around the map, with 2 here and a couple spread out. And that's pretty much it for my build. Fairly straightforward Beastman build. For the caster, we've got a Brave Shaman Lore of Wild with the Cygor Summon and Viletide for that a nice vigor refresh. For my opponent's build, he's got 1 unit of Outriders here, who are going to be his sole missile cav. Front line of 4 Flagellants, which is very unusual. Boris up in the air with a Net Wizard on a Pegasus. He's also got an Empire Captain up here, also on a Pegasus. 2 units of Demigryph Knights with Halberds, 2 Spearmen with Shields, and these Silver Bullets. Very interesting army, almost like a mid-patch Total War Warhammer 1 army. I haven't seen an army like this in quite some time, so let's see how it's able to do. So first things first, we're going to be getting these Centaurs moving up into a skirmish position, trying to pick out any isolated targets. Number 1 target is going to be these Outriders here, but we do not want to get caught by these Git Demis, so we're going to switch away here and start bringing this other unit up and around in. Meanwhile, on the front line, these guys are just kind of pitching their axes at up at Boris here. He will take some damage, not too much, at least right now, but Flagellants doing a good job of kind of screening out here. The Empire Captain actually took quite a bit of damage from those volleys there. And now you can see with the Outriders turn the other way, they're going to get ambushed here by these Centaurs coming through with their spears out. Of course, Centaurs with throwing axes are pretty solid in melee with decent melee stats. 32 charge bonus, 32 weapon strength, 27 in melee attack, and 20 defense. Pretty solid. Boris is going to come down in this mainline fight here, which is going to then immediately have me switch my Minotaurs, one of whom is currently netted. We're going to immediately switch those Minotaurs back, and one of the biggest issues right now with handgunners is, of course, their line of sight obstruction bug, which has been talked about at length, but you can see the handgunners are right here next to the combat, which means the Minotaurs are easily just able to push onto them, no problem at all. These Demigryph Knights honestly need to collapse on these Minotaurs with shields right now to take them off the battlefield, but no support here for Boris, so he's going to get both units of Minotaurs moving in here. The Demigryph Knights are honestly being kept in reserve to help screen out these Centaurs with throwing axes, but you know, at the end of the day, they really need to get in here and start doing some work on these Minotaurs here. We've got a Cygor summoned up, and also bringing the Brave Shaman up to start doing a little bit of work in the front line here against some of these Flagellants. Demigryph Knights unfortunately did catch a little bit of miss micro by me here. They did catch one of these units of Centaurs with throwing axes, but while they're doing this, they're going to take a ton of armor-piercing missile fire right in the side. A nasty volley there from those Centaurs with throwing axes. Boris coming up in the air here. He's got that regeneration. Of course, he's going to be relatively tanky here. Probably going to be able to get tear routes on a few units here. You can see balance power is already shifting more and more in my favor as these Minotaurs just kind of clean up the front line here. Flagellants will trade decently against Gore Herds with shields, but even in this situation here where they're one-on-one, I mean, the Gore Herds with shields are probably going to rout before it's over, but they'll pretty much kill all of the Flagellants, so it's more or less a wash. You can see Cygor Rock being thrown at these Demigryph Knights. As long as they're moving, they're not going to get hit, but as soon as they stop, they'll start taking those pot shots. So let's see if he's able to make some solid contact. A clean miss there as those Demis charge into these Ungor Spearman Herd. But yeah, netting this other unit here, but unfortunately these Silver Bullets are still going to get caught up by this other Ungor Spearman Herd. And I mean, we have superior mobility at this point to be able to grind it out. Chaos Spawns being summoned up here, finishing off those Flagellants in the front line. You can see all their units are pretty much gone at this point. And Boris is surrounded by Minotaurs, so the Minobus coming in here, giving Boris the business. And yeah, I mean, in game 1, I would say this army is pretty decent. I don't think my opponent necessarily played it the best, but in Game 2, a lot has changed, you know, since the days where a build like this would be super viable. And we'll go ahead and talk about some things in the end screen here. We'll just kind of soak up some cinematic action as Boris finishes out the battle here like a true man. Battling it out with these Minotaurs here, unfortunately, is not going to last too much longer. More rocks being thrown. Demigryph Knights very tattered at this point, but still trying to get some work done. Trying to come back and come after the Cygor, but it's a little bit too late, as army losses are going to be triggering relatively soon here. We've still got a few Flagellants fighting, currently being bowled over by the Soup Pig Chariot here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and just quickly check the kill total. Only 8 kills on the Cygor, but it has been shooting at Demigryph Knights the whole time. So, you know, 8 Demigryph Knights is not bad at all, actually, when you think about it. But yeah, at this point, army loss is going to kick in, and that'll be game. So, well played to my opponent. Hope you guys enjoyed watching that battle. As soon as the end screen pops up here, we'll kind of talk about some different things. So let's go ahead and take a look. So yeah, you can see Flagellants were able to trade pretty effectively with the Goreherds in certain situations where they were unsupported, but it was more or less a wash, and the Goreherds still, I mean, 82 kills in an XP Chevron. Well, I believe these guys all had 1 to begin with, so these 3 all picked up an XP Chevron just from mowing through Flagellants. I just really don't think that Flagellants can do as much damage as they used to. We'll go ahead and take a look at them in just a second, but the Demigryph Knights got some really nice work done. That was mostly due to my micro, but they didn't get the work done that they needed to, which would have been against these Minotaurs. 89 kills and 42, an XP Chevron here and 2 here for these Minotaurs. Very impressive. Across the board, the throwing axes, they did okay. This one in particular, 47 kills and an XP Chevron. It's the one that got a hold of those Outriders. Goreherds did their job in the front line. Morker, of course, getting 30 kills and summoning up the Chaos Spawns. Yeah, for my opponent, the Silver Bullets only getting 1 kill just really did not pay out. Demigryph Knights did okay, but the Silver Bullets and the Outriders both didn't pay out, and I don't think that the Flagellants did either. So let's go ahead and talk about Flagellants and kind of why they struggle a little bit compared to how they used to be here. I do think the Empire infantry needs a little bit of a buff. Their lower tier infantry is super cost effective. I mean, State Troop Spearmen with shields and swords can be really cost effective in certain situations, but when you start to get above that, Flagellants, their 0 armor is pretty poor, and only 10 melee defense means they're incredibly squishy. They do have Frenzy, which gives them a little bit more melee attack, charge bonus, and weapon strength, but still only 33 weapon strength with only 8 AP for 600 points. I mean, they used to be, what, 525 in Total War Warhammer 1, which I think is a little bit more of a comfortable price range for them. You guys saw they more or less traded evenly with a unit of Goreherds with shields, which is 100 points cheaper, so I mean, they are unbreakable. They've got that going for them. They're still unbreakable, but just the poor weapon strength, I honestly think they need a little bit more melee defense if they're going to be 600 points. They need, you know, 15 to 20 melee defense to be able to stand up a little bit longer, and a little bit more melee attack and weapon strength as well. They're supposed to be a damage dealer unit, but they really just don't seem to put out the damage. I mean, so I've done some testing before, and not since the latest patch, but I'd imagine it's still the same. I might look at that at another time, but Flagellants will not beat High Elf Spearmen, where Swordsmen will. So for 200 points less, you're getting a unit that will perform better, and that largely comes down to the fact that Swordsmen have better melee defense. I mean, Total War Warhammer 2, much more so than Total War Warhammer 1, is a game that's reliant on melee defense as the primary mitigation stat. In Total War Warhammer 1, I would have told you that armor is probably the primary mitigation stat, but now I think that's shifted to where melee defense is key in most engagements, and having a unit 600 points or more with low armor and low melee defense means that they're rarely going to pay out. I mean, you look at something like Plague Monk's Censor Bearer, they're rarely going to pay out. I mean, certain units I'll grant are cost effective. Like the Witch Elves, for example, they have pretty decent combat stacks. Again, 26 melee defense, which is pretty solid. If we look at other damage dealer type units, Battle Pilgrims are not a good comparison because they're also terrible. But if we look at, say, War Dancers, for example, granted, War Dancers, again, are more expensive at 800 points, same as the Witch Elves, but look at the combat stat difference here. It's only 200 points more. Granted, they're not unbreakable, but still, anti-infantry, better weapon strength, much better combat stats. I just really think that the Flagellants need more melee defense and attack if they really are going to be a good damage dealer unit. We can look at even, Black Ark Corsairs, for example, at 650. These guys are a little bit more in the Flagellants price range. Granted, they're a little bit different of a role. They have, obviously, much heavier armor, but if we look here, obviously they're not unbreakable, but much better melee stats. For only 50 points more, you get heavy armor, an anti-infantry bonus, a true anti-infantry bonus of 7, which makes a difference, don't get me wrong, 80 armor, and significantly better combat stats. I mean, just look at the pitiful combat stats on these Flagellants. Like, they're worse than Empire State Troop Swordsmen. So, really, I do think that Flagellants need a combat stat buff to be remotely cost-effective. Maybe an anti-infantry bonus, even something small like an anti-infantry bonus of 5 would make a big difference for them and help them fulfill their intended role much better. But yeah, I'll get off my soapbox for now about these Flagellants, but let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. I'm keeping it coming with more Total War Warhammer 2 content every single day, so stay tuned for more, and we'll see you next time.